All right, welcome 8th hour. I know it's the last period of the last day of Writers Week, so it's a little bit sad, but let's hear some noise for Writers Week 25. Give it up. Round of applause to all of our performers, students, faculty, professional writers. It's just been such a great week, and I hope you have enjoyed it, and you are going to enjoy our next presenter as well. So I'm going to introduce her. Our next presenter is an internationally touring performance poet, an educator, a mental health advocate, and a 2-time National Poetry Slam champion. She is good, y'all. She's also a 4-time published author, and she is the co-host of a relationship advice podcast called Just Break Up. She'll be talking about that later on today. She lives in Minneapolis with her dog Opal. And I have a quote from a student. Many people have seen Sierra perform, but one quote from her website, the student said, "Sierra DeMulder is brilliant, inspiring, and hilarious. All of her poems can touch anyone in a way. Sat in the front row and left with a new perspective." So I know you guys are going to have a similar experience when you hear her. She's awesome. Up here, after she's done with her presentation, on the table here, we have some posters for $10 or 2 for $15. And, feel free to come up and ask her some questions or buy a poster. Without further ado, let me introduce to you Sierra DeMulder. Thank you.
All right, my name is Sierra DeMulder. I'm going to kick it off with a poem, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm doing here. I want you to think about something that you experienced today that was difficult. Maybe it was the alarm clock. Maybe it was a test or a hard conversation. Now I want you to think about something that you experienced this past week or past month that weighs heavy on your heart. And I want you to recognize wherever you are in the process of that thing, that you made it here today to this auditorium, to this very moment, and that fact is worth celebrating. So with that in mind, I'd like to dedicate this poem to you. You're welcome. Dear you, whoever you are, however you got here, this is exactly where you are supposed to be. This moment has waited its whole life for you. This moment is your lover and you are a soldier. Come home, baby. It's over. You don't need to suffer anymore. Dear you, this moment is your surprise party. You are both hiding in the dark and walking through the door. This moment is the hallelujah. This moment is your permission slip to finally open that love letter you've been hiding from yourself. The one you wrote when you were little. When you still danced like a sparkler at dusk, you remember the moment you realized they were watching. When you became ashamed of how much light you were holding. When you first learned how to unlove yourself. Dear you, the word today means amen in every language. Today, I made it. Today, I'm going to love you. Today, I'm going to love myself. Today, the box cutter will rust in the garbage. The noose will forget how to hold you. Today, dear you, and I have always meant you. Nothing would be the same if you did not exist. You, who were once as small as a bouquet, who slept in the laps of strangers, nothing would be the same if you did not exist. You, whose voice is someone's favorite voice, someone's favorite face to wake up to, nothing would be the same if you did not exist. You, the teacher, the starter's gun, the lantern in the night who offers not a way home, but the courage to travel farther into the dark. You, the lover, who worships the taste of her body, who is the largest tree ring in his heart, who does not let fear ration your love. You, the friend, the sacred chorus of how can I help? You, who have felt more numb than holy, more cracked than mosaic, who've known the tiles of a bathroom by heart, who have forgotten what makes you worth it. You, the forgiven, the forgiver, who belongs right here in this moment. You, this clump of cells, this happy explosion that happened to start breathing, and by the grace of whatever is up there, you got here. You made it this whole way, through the nights that swallowed you whole, the mornings that arrived in pieces, the scabs, the gravel, the doubt, the hurt is over. Today, you made it. You made it. You made it here. Thank you. Is Gina back with water? No? Okay. Okay, hi. So my name is Sierra Mulder. I am a full-time spoken word poet. I'm gonna do a handful. That's my dog. Her name is Opal. Yes, she is not very smart, but she is very cute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform some poems for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I built my career because this is like my 6th time performing at Writers Week. And if you're a senior, I saw you when you were freshmen, I think, right? Yeah. So I wanted to do something a little bit different today because I always get asked about how I made my career, being self-employed, being a spoken word artist, being a poet, or whatever I am. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that after I perform, and then I'll close with one poem, and we'll do a quick Q&A. Bam. Oh, talk about my career, what it means to be a writer, copyright, and then poem and Q&A. So. They're all open. I have a water bottle, so. Okay, so I'm going to start with a short poem. I think shorter poems off paper are a little bit startling in spoken word sets because people are used to like the memorization, choreography. And when I read a shorter poem off paper, when I finish, people are like, oh, okay, she's done, okay, right? So it's a little an awkward experience. So I'm gonna finish and you can clap, you can snap, you can make an animal noise if you want. I'll keep going, okay? Sound good? No, does not sound good. Silence is not consent. Oh, water, thanks. All right, this poem is called, I Have a Hair in My Armpit. My 10-year-old niece squeals from half shock, half delight from inside the bathroom. We inspect. The hair is light, almost a cobweb, not the dark pelt of a woman yet, but it is impossible to ignore how her body is no longer draped as a child, more the scaffolding of a building unfinished. On her chest, 2 doughy coins, the straight pavement of her legs beginning to turn. At first, I wanted my niece to say small forever, a girl pan curled into a ball of yarn in my lap. Now, I delight in picturing whose heart she will swallow first, the lies she will tell her mother, what part of her body she will wish to sand down, born into a forest of women with axes for hands. I could save her from none of this, and would I if I could? Smooth the surface, numb the edges, or would I rather meet her on the other side of the table or phone when someone proves how edible her heart is, or when the dark hounds of our family finally catch her scent? Thank you. Good, you were listening. All right, how many people here are in love? Good. I'm proud of you, buddy. A lot of people don't do that for a long time. How many people here have a crush on someone? It's an odd number. That's not a good sign. How many people here have a crush on somebody in the room? All right. Most important question, how many people here have ever felt any emotion ever? Yeah. Every high school I go to ever, there's small flocks of young men that go like this. Like, cool, dude. Masculinity is really fragile, I know. Oh, good noise. Wow, good vocal cords. So, most important question, I lied before. How many people here have ever had a crush on someone or been in love with someone who was in love with someone else? Yeah, that shit sucks. I was in love with one of my best friends for over 3 years, and I like to say all I got was this stupid poem. I will, that's a dumb joke. I'm going to make up for being so bitter and petty by sharing something funny after this poem, but first, the bitterness, okay? This poem is called, On Watching Someone You Love Somebody Else. It sucks. No, just kidding, that's not the poem. That's the Spark Notes version of the poem. You can pass a shitty test on it now. Oops, second time I said that, sorry. I got up very early. All right. I'm watching someone you love somebody else. You will be out with friends when the news of her existence is accidentally spilled all over your bar stool. Respond calmly as if it was only a change of weather, a punchline you saw coming. After your fourth shot of cheap liquor, leave the image of him kissing another woman in the toilet. In the morning, her name will be in every headline. Car crash, robbery, flood. When he calls you, ignore the hundreds of ropes untangling themselves in your stomach. You are the best friend again. When he invites you over for dinner, say yes too easily. Remind yourself this isn't special. It's only dinner. Everyone has to eat. When he greets you at the door, do not think for 1 second you are the reason he wore cologne tonight. Someone told you once that a soulmate is not the person who makes you the happiest, but the one who makes you feel the most, who can conduct your heart to bang the loudest, who can drag you giggling with forgiveness from the cellar they locked you in. It has always been him. In his kitchen, he will hand feed you a piece of red pepper. His laugh will be low and warm, and it will make you feel like candlelight. Do not think this is special. Do not count on your fingers the number of freckles you could kiss too easily. Try to think of pilot lights or olive oil, not everything you've ever loved about him, or it will suddenly feel boiling and possible and so close. You will find her bobby pins lying innocently on his bathroom sink. Her bobby pins. They look like the wiry legs of spiders, splinters of her undressing in his bed. Do not say anything. Think of stealing them, wearing them home in your hair. When he hugs you goodbye, let him kiss you on the forehead. Settle for target practice. At home, you will picture her across town, pressing her fingers into his back like wet cement. You will wonder if she looks like you, if you are 2 bedrooms in the same house. Did he fall for her features like rearranged furniture? When he kisses her, does she taste like wet paint? You will want to call him. You will go as far as holding the phone in your hand. Imagine telling him unimaginable things like, you are always ticking inside of me, and I dream of you more often than I don't. My body is a dead language, and you pronounce each word perfectly. Do not call him. Fall asleep to the hum of the VCR. She must make him happy. She must be his favorite place in Minneapolis. You are a souvenir shop where he goes to remember how much people miss him when he's gone. Thank you. The funny thing about that poem is nothing, just kidding. But the funny thing about that poem is that he's with the same woman still. Just kidding, he is, but it's fine. I'm not bitter, it's fine. But it's okay. That was years ago, but they are still together. Anyway, so that poem is on the internet. It's on YouTube, and my favorite thing on the entire internet is a response comment to that poem that just says, but really, who owns a VCR anymore? And then my second favorite thing on the internet is a response comment to that poem that just says, I think it's a metaphor for living in the past. So rude. I did not go to the comments of my own video to be dragged like that. Well, I probably technically did. All right. So I'm going to do an older poem. I'm going to talk a little bit later about like how my career started. I'd never planned on being a spoken word poet. I was an artist in high school. I went to school for art therapy and then dropped out swiftly and pursued poetry with everything I had. And this poem was pretty instrumental to my career getting picked up or people booking me for shows. I performed in 45 of the 50 states and 7 countries internationally, and this poem was really oddly a huge part of that. It's a little weird. It's a persona poem. Persona is Latin for mask, so persona poem is when you put on a mask and you write from the perspective of someone else. You can write from the perspective of a lamp and what the lamp sees. Or you can write from the perspective of the gun that killed JFK, or you can write from the perspective of your sister, or from Madonna, or things like that. So it's whenever you inhabit the perspective of someone else. And this is from the point of view of a serial killer's mother. I'm okay, I'm healthy and sane, hypothetically. I caught you once, killing a squirrel in the backyard with a rock. Your 8-year-old body shivering, illuminated. Through tears, you told me that you loved it. I assumed you meant the squirrel. Even after I watched the news, clips of a 10-gallon blue vat being carried out of your building, your refrigerator sealed shut with police tape, the pictures of the boys you kissed too hard. Even after I heard what they found in your refrigerator, 2 human heads and a heart in your freezer, I could not bring myself to call you a monster. Father told the reporters that when I was pregnant with you, I experienced seizure-like fits. My swollen body would stiffen, foam at the mouth, and my eyes would peel back like paint as if I was trying to look at you. The day your apartment building was gutted and paved over, I began to obsess over your baby pictures. For anything that would predict the way you learned to love seeing things inside out. Your brother legally changed his last name from Dahmer, but I cannot erase the stretch marks. I still see your eyes in my mirror, the scar where they pulled you like Persephone from my stomach. There is no reminiscing here. No one wants to hear how you were a wonderful child. They only want to watch the car crash of your life on repeat, your adolescent obsession with roadkill, how you would bike for miles with a garbage bag filled with whatever cadavers you found on the street. How could I possibly not see this coming, they say. Did I hold your hand too tightly when we crossed the street? Child, when your father and I fought at night, did you mistake it for lovemaking? Did I teach those fingers to pluck flat people apart like flower petals? I love you still, darling. Was it the sound of the dead dog's bones as your father dropped them one by one into the bucket that seduced you? Did it sound too much like your pulse? Was it the day I drove away from you? Freshly graduated from high school, 2 months premature of your first murder. Did I put too many states between us? Did you put your own heart in the freezer next to the thought of me? Would Mary be forsaken if Jesus had not grown to be the Son God had intended the Father? If he did not wear a crown of thorns, but instead wrapped it around his knuckles, will I be forgiven for the sins I did not commit, but created? When you were small, I told you, you can grow up to be anything. Thank you. Again, not me, or my life experience. Okay, Valentine's Day is coming up. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody here is in love. We already reviewed that. Is anybody in lust? Of course you are. You're in high school. It doesn't stop, just so you know. I've been thinking a lot about how love is not anything like the movies. Or the holiday, it's not very, it's not always romantic and shiny and perfect, and you're not going to meet somebody who's perfect for you, ever. We're all going to mess up in some way, and we are always learning and getting better. And so I've been thinking about how, real love is letting somebody smell your morning breath, or looking imperfect around them, or allowing yourself to mess up around them. So this is a poem about that. Forgive me, but you will get the worst. Sweet foul breath at dawn, crusty eyes, dressing as an old armchair. It seems we saved the varnish for strangers, not daring to visit the post office or fetch groceries in such an offensive state. You will get the muck, the cough, the drool, the snarled hair, and even more tangled mouth when I am upset and haven't chosen a name for it yet. Forgive me, but this is my most endangered self, the one unafraid of being unlovable. You built it this way, the shelter I found in the give of your voice, so safe. I no longer fear being too much or not enough. Instead, I am allowed, with all my unclipped nails, burps, and ungraceful curses, split ends, and shadowed stains under my eyes, to just love you with all that I am. So this next poem is for my sister. I learned a lot about myself being a caretaker, taking care of my sister when she was in a time of need. My sister had an eating disorder for over 16 years of her life, and when she was living with me a couple years ago is when she finally decided to make a very smart and healthy choice and go into a treatment center. And so I was the first person she came home to every day, so I became a very big part of her support system. And I learned a lot about myself during that time, what it means to be there for somebody when they're no longer comfortable, like when your friendships become uncomfortable, or when your friend is going through something difficult and they're no longer the fun, jovial person you want them to be. Who you are for them, it says a lot and can often challenge you. So this poem's for my sister. My sister and I grew up in upstate New York. We were